Hello and welcome back to Crypto Saving Expert, where we talk about the latest cryptocurrency news and take a look at the markets so that we all know exactly what is happening. My name is Jess and we do these live streams every single weekday. Different time for the stream today because we did have Ross on earlier this morning interviewing a team. So if you are interested in that stream, I haven't pulled it up ready in preparation for this stream, but Ross, Spud, let's try that again. Spud did a stream with the founder of BonkBot, really interesting stream. So if you want to check that out, that was on at 11 a.m. this morning, but it is now posted to the YouTube channel, so you can have a look there if you want to. But we are going to go through the latest cryptocurrency news as we normally do and see what's going on in the markets right now, just a little bit later in the day, but we'll be back to the normal time tomorrow. So please don't forget, before we get into today's news, to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification button. I feel like the lighting on today's stream looks really different to usual, but it's the exact same. Maybe outside's just really bright today. Let's see what's going on in the chat this morning. Boosted365 said, let's go. Crypto Bro, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for tuning in. As always, I very much appreciate it. Please interact with the stream as much as possible. Share it with your friends, comment down below, and help us get in the YouTube algorithm and get the stream and the channel to 10,000 subscribers by the end of 2024. That's the goal for the year. Let's see what's going on with Bitcoin though, because Bitcoin's been acting pretty interesting within the last couple of hours. We've had a pretty significant move to the upside. This is what we were discussing in yesterday's stream. We were saying that Bitcoin could move pretty close to that previous level of support, and really what we are waiting for here is to see if we can reclaim that level of support or if we are going to use it as a level of resistance. And this will be a telltale sign of what's going to happen within the next couple of months when it comes to crypto. So let's take a look at this first of all. Bitcoin is trading at $41,285, up 3.3% within the last 24 hours, and Ethereum is trading at $2,250, up almost 2% within the last 24 hours as well. So Ethereum has not performed as well as Bitcoin has, but it's still seen a nice move to the upside. In terms of altcoins here, the majority of altcoins haven't massively outperformed Bitcoin either. Bitcoin seems to be pretty much at the front of this move right now. We do have a couple that have exceeded the rest of the market. We are seeing AVAX up 7%, which is huge there, and the rest of the markets are looking like a 3% change. ICP up nicely as well, 8.6% there. So we are seeing the odd altcoin perform really well, but the rest of the markets, the typical kind of view on the markets right now is they've all had a slight move to the upside right now, but I think there's really some anticipation over what happens at this level of resistance here. So let's take a look at the Bitcoin chart and see what's going on right now. Before we do, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification button. These are the levels that we've been looking at in the last couple of days. So I'll just point out why these levels are here on the chart. Once again, we have this level of previous support at $41,270. You can see how many times this has been used as a level of support for Bitcoin. We were trading below that. Now, right now, we are trading slightly above that. But what matters here is what happens when the daily candle closes tonight. If that daily candle closes above this level, this could mean that we are going to use this once again as a level of support and flip bullish when it comes to the price of Bitcoin. But if the daily candle closes around here or even lower than that level of support, we could be using it as a level of resistance. Now, we need to be prepared for that. We also need to notice that it is Friday today, and we do have weekend price action ahead of us, which usually means just sideways action. So it could be that we don't even get a telltale sign of which direction we are going from this level of support until Monday. It could be that we close just about around this support, and then we see sideways action over the weekend, and then Monday is where we're going to see what direction we're going to go. So we need to be prepared for this. It might not be today, but we are looking like we are testing this to see if it is going to act as a resistance right now. Now, if it does act as a level of resistance and we see a confirmation bounce here, this is when I'm looking for lower price points. This is when I'm going to start looking for this $38,000 level and that $35,500 level. So if we do get a confirmation bounce here, I think it may be the scenario where We get a close around here today, we see sideways action over the weekend, and then we get the decision as to whether we're going to move to the upside, close the daily candle up in this range here, and then try and use it as a support, or we will get the decision where it has been confirmed that it is now a resistance for us, and we should be looking at those lower prices. So that's the key point to notice here today, and I think this is really important. Just because Bitcoin has had a move to the upside doesn't mean all of our fears should go away. We shouldn't be looking at lower prices. We do need to still be aware that we do have this level of resistance, which is very, very significant, and until we break up above it and we have a candle close significantly above that on the daily chart, then we need to be cautious over what's to come here. So I just want to be cautious there, but we do have some really bullish and bearish news to share today, which can help us give a more informed decision. If we take a look at the fear and greed here quickly, you can see that's at 49, so pretty neutral here. No real indication of which way the markets are going to go. If we take a look at what's going on the liquidation heat map, which we've been looking at a lot in the last couple of weeks, you can see that we liquidated a huge amount of traders with this move to the upside. So there was a lot of people that were in short positions that had their liquidation points at this price range, and we've liquidated those traders, hit those points. And that is what Bitcoin typically likes to do. It takes the path of most pain. So we should be looking at key levels here. Now, if we take a look at the 3-month chart, this is what we've been looking at in the last couple of days. There is a clear point here at around $34,000, at which a huge amount of traders will get liquidated. So this is acting like a magnet for the Bitcoin price. So that is at $34,000, which is why I've drawn this big white line on here. And this is the reason as to why I'm being cautious that this resistance could hold and we could see a confirmation bounce here. So we don't have any clear direction right now. I want to make that clear. I'm not being super bullish. I'm not being super bearish. I'm saying we are sitting on the fence right now and we are waiting for that indication, and we will get that within the next, hopefully in the next 9 hours. We could get a candle close up here and we could be fine and dandy. We're back above that level of support, but I think the likely scenario is we will close around this point, see Saturday and Sunday's candles kind of neutral, and then get the indication as to why we're going up or down on Monday. And that's when we can really know whether we should be highlighting more levels of resistance up here or more levels of support down there. So I'm not being biased in either direction right now. I am just holding fire and waiting to see when we are going to get some clear direction in the markets, which I do think we will be getting on Monday. So stay tuned for that. Make sure to tune in on Monday by hitting the subscribe and bell notification button so you get notified every single time we go live. We've been going live on this channel since Bitcoin was down at $17,000. We started these on the 7th of December 2022, and that was when Bitcoin was so low, but we were saying, look, now is the time to change. Now is the time we need to action. Now is the time that we need to get people interested in what's going on, because big changes are coming. And as soon as we did that, Bitcoin moved. So we're bullish for Bitcoin, I would say. What we've got right now is Bitcoin still just trading around that zone there. So pretty interesting. If we go into the 1 hour chart and see what's really been going on here, on the 1 hour chart, we've actually bounced this as a resistance here. So let's go to the 4 hour chart and look a little bit closer. I think this level is a significant level, and even on the smaller time frames, we are getting indication of that. If we try and draw on a zone of support here, this will help us understand where we are on the smaller time frame. So I would say from here to here, this is a significant zone for Bitcoin. So you can see that we've used this zone. In fact, I would bring this a little bit higher. We've used this zone as a level of support numerous times, and as a level of resistance on the way up into it and on the way down into it as well. So this is between the $40,800 level and the $42,000 level. As I keep saying, if we get a daily candle close above that $42,000 level, even better if we get a confirmation bounce on the daily chart of that $41,300 level acting as a support, we can flip bullish again. I'm not being super bearish. I'm just saying, until we get that confirmation, we are still on the fence. Just because Bitcoin's bullish today doesn't mean all of our bearish fears should go away. We should be cautious and we should wait for confirmation of which direction we are going. The markets are not super clear right now, and we need to wait for that confirmation to come in before we can get excited for either direction. When Bitcoin was down here, I was saying, look, I'm accumulating a bit. If we drop down further, brilliant. If we don't, this is okay. And this is the kind of scenario that I've prepared myself for. But right now we are on the tipping point where we are going to find out within the next couple of days, I believe on Monday, which direction we're going to go. So let's prepare for that. And don't forget to tune in on Monday to see what's going on there. But let's take a look at what's going on with the cryptocurrency news though, because we've analyzed the price of Bitcoin a lot there, but we need to see what's going on when it comes to the news, because there's some interesting news coming out today. First of all, I want to start with this one. So BlackRock has announced it plans to host a webinar educating their clients on Bitcoin. This is big, big news here. BlackRock has announced plans to host a webinar educating their clients on crypto technology and Bitcoin. It says, join digital asset leaders from BlackRock for a follow-on discussion on what the newly launched Bitcoin ETFs mean for investors and advisors. So it will include what makes this a pivotal movement for cryptocurrency and investors. This will be held today at 11 till 11:30 ET time. So I believe that is this afternoon in the UK. So this is showing potential for what BlackRock and the Bitcoin ETFs can really bring to the markets. And that is just what I wanted to highlight on this stream. So before these Bitcoin ETFs went live, we were talking about the potential of institutional investors getting into the space, retail investors getting into the space, and the opportunity for BlackRock and other issuers of these ETFs to market Bitcoin as an investment asset. And we're already seeing them do that. We've seen a number of these issuers list the Bitcoin ETFs on their home pages of their websites, which was super bullish and super great to see. And now we are seeing them hold webinars to introduce the concept of Bitcoin and blockchain to investors to help them understand this technology and the possibilities that are in the industry. When BlackRock and other institutions make pushes like this and make marketing strategies around Bitcoin ETFs, that's going to prick up a lot of people's ears. People are going to be like, maybe I should take a second look at this. Everybody was telling me not to touch it, but now BlackRock, the biggest asset manager in the world, and other asset managers that are huge are saying, look, we need to take a look at this. We've made a product so you can get exposure to this. It's definitely worth looking at. We want to educate you about it. People are going to start listening, and people are going to say, well, if they're interested, I probably should be as well. So a huge amount of potential here. This is exactly what we were talking about when we were saying Bitcoin ETFs are super bullish for the long term of Bitcoin, and I expect to see a lot more of this within the next couple of months. I don't think this is the end. All of these ETF issuers are in a battle to get as much money in their funds as possible, and they will be hosting webinars, they will make marketing strategies, they will cut their fees, they will do anything to be the best and to have the most funds. So they are going to push Bitcoin as an investment asset over and over again, making people take a second look, getting people interested in the space, and driving adoption of the cryptocurrency industry. So this is super important here, and it's really helping with the legitimacy of the cryptocurrency industry as well. So it's super exciting to see. But let's see what else is going on here, because I want to talk a little bit more about these ETFs. Now, We've said a lot about the ETFs here, but I want to highlight here how Bitcoin ETFs have an impact on the Bitcoin price, because we've seen a lot of people saying that as soon as we see outflows, we see Bitcoin dumping. As soon as we see inflows, we see Bitcoin pumping. But it's not exactly how ETFs work. So I want to go through this article and maybe reading off the screen a lot, but there's a lot of information in here that I do want to discuss. I am also going to drop the link to this in today's chat if you want to have a read of it after today's stream. But essentially, this is why BlackRock Bitcoin holdings increased as prices dropped. So, when ETF shares are sold, it does not necessarily lead to a decline in AUM. Sorry, just choked. If those shares are not redeemed by AP. So let's take a look at this. Essentially, 9 huge issuers of spot Bitcoin ETFs launched their ETFs 2 weeks ago now. Since then, the price of Bitcoin has fallen roughly 20%. Not anymore, because we've seen a nice pump, but it had a maximum pullback of about 22%. Now, the share prices for these ETFs have also fallen in line with Bitcoin. So how do the ETFs continue to purchase more Bitcoin if the value of their shares is in decline? So it's not kind of this with these ETFs and how they operate. It's not that when you buy shares, these shares are created out of thin air. It's a little bit more complex than that. So the creation of ETF share baskets, let's talk about this quickly. So when money flows into the funds, it is used to purchase Bitcoin at an equivalent rate, but those shares aren't created instantly. What happens is 5 companies are the only entities able to create or redeem baskets of shares. So baskets of shares are created in bulk. Now, these are valued at around $906,000. Around 22.7 Bitcoin is in each basket. But when these shares are redeemed, at least the same amount is sold for cash to give to APs. Under the current mechanisms, only cash can be used to create share baskets. So what's happening is we're not saying, okay, I want to invest $1,000 into an ETF, and then behind the scenes, BlackRock are going and buying $1,000 worth of Bitcoin. It's not happening like that. It's happening in big chunks. So when we're saying here, to meet liquidity needs, APs will often buy baskets of shares ahead of time to sell to the market. This process happens once per trading day and uses the CF benchmark's index rate for Bitcoin to ensure shares are issued relative to the price of Bitcoin. So they're buying and selling in bulk here, and it's not just after the demand is created, it's actually before. So, for instance, if 7 million new shares are created, bringing the total outstanding shares to 70 million, and the NAV price of the ETF is $22, the AUM increases by 154 million to 1.54 billion. However, these shares have not necessarily been sold into the open market and in the hands of investors. The newly created shares may still be held by the APs, ready to be used as liquidity for the trading activity ahead. So that kind of clears up that kind of concern about the direct impact that it has on the markets there. It goes into a load more detail here, but I'm scared that me trying to explain this is just going to bore some people that aren't very interested in this. I just wanted to highlight that if somebody sells $1,000 of an ETF, we're not seeing that selling pressure immediately in the markets. It works differently than that. If you want to know completely how these ETFs work, make sure to read through this article because it goes in depth and it's really, really useful. So let's see what else is going on in the markets here. We are still on the topic of ETFs. We have seen JP Morgan discuss that if GBTC's profit taking has ended, should it alleviate Bitcoin selling pressure? Well, analysts from JP Morgan have stated that they believe it will do, potentially spelling an end to the selling pressure on Bitcoin. Now, this is the reason as to why I think we're having a little bit of a move to the upside this morning. Essentially, GBTC saw a huge amount of outflows after it transitioned into a spot Bitcoin ETF, and we later found out this was due to FTX selling a huge amount. Now that FTX have stopped selling, now that all of the arbitrage traders have taken profit, now that people have moved from GBTC into other funds that have other ETFs that have lower fees, will the selling pressure come to an end? And does that mean we will see less selling pressure on the value of Bitcoin? Well, this is what the analysts here are suggesting. They suggested the majority of the GBTC profit taking has already occurred, indicating that the negative impact on Bitcoin from this source should now be largely in the past. Since its conversion to an ETF on the 11th of January, Grayscale's Bitcoin fund has experienced net outflows of $4.3 billion. This outflow has been attributed to profit taking on previous GBTC investments and investors choosing to invest in other Bitcoin ETF products with lower fee structures. Unlike the other approved Bitcoin ETFs, GBTC has not cut its ETF fees. We all know this. Before the ETFs went live, a lot of the issuers were cutting their fees to compete with each other because they wanted that initial demand. And GBTC Grayscale did not do that and did not keep up with the competition. So we have seen outflows from GBTC into other ETFs, Bitcoin ETFs with the lower fees there. So let's take a look here. We know that analysts highlighted the emergence of BlackRock and Fidelity's spot Bitcoin ETFs as competitive alternatives to GBTC. The two funds have garnered assets under management of $1.9 billion and $1.8 billion respectively, so a huge amount there. And on the 24th of January, BlackRock's spot Bitcoin ETF experienced its lowest daily inflow since its launch with only $66.2 million. So that was on Wednesday there. Meanwhile, it increased its Bitcoin holdings by 1,663 Bitcoin to a total of nearly 45,700 Bitcoin. That is absolutely insane. Now we're seeing Fidelity's ETF added 3,170 Bitcoin on the same day, bringing their holdings to 41,320. Overall, the analysts suggest that the pressure on Bitcoin prices stemming from GBTC related activities is likely subsiding, providing potential stability in the market and maybe creating a floor for the Bitcoin price. Now, when it comes to this, I would like to highlight here that these institutions are buying a huge amount of Bitcoin right now. What we are seeing is BlackRock hold 45,000 Bitcoin, Fidelity own 41,000 Bitcoin. That Bitcoin is kind of becoming partially illiquid. These massive institutions are buying huge amounts of Bitcoin and just storing it away. Yes, if a huge amount of outflows occur for the ETF, they will start to sell that Bitcoin, but they are stashing away this Bitcoin. People are pulling this out of circulation, and there are kind of rumors here that we could see, or analysts suggesting, I should say, that we could see a huge supply crunch here. We have the Bitcoin halving coming in a matter of months. We've got an article on that today. We've got 87 days to go until the Bitcoin halving. It's set to occur in the next 3 months. That reduces the inflationary, that halves the amount of inflation that we see in Bitcoin. So there's a misconception that Bitcoin is deflationary. That's not true. Bitcoin is inflated. Bitcoin it's an inflationary asset at this point in time. Every 10 minutes, 6.25 Bitcoin is added into circulation. So the supply of Bitcoin is constantly increasing. But every 4 years, the rate of inflation halves. So in April this year, we will see the rate of inflation cut from 6.25 Bitcoin to 3.125 Bitcoin. And in 4 years' time, we will see that half again. And in 4 years' time, we will see that half again. So it is an inflation. It is being inflated, but very, very slowly. Now, when that inflation is being halved and some institutions are buying huge chunks of Bitcoin, the amount of Bitcoin available on exchanges dips. And with that dip, with that lower supply, we see increased demand because of the bull market and the excitement. And with that, we see the price increase massively. So is the supply shock underway in 2024? Potentially. And that is a really bullish signal for Bitcoin. If there's a huge scramble to try and accumulate the rest of the Bitcoin on exchanges, we could see the prices absolutely soar. So be prepared for that. I'm excited to hear that kind of news from analysts, and I keep reading more and more about it. A lot of analysts are crunching all the data and saying, look, if things continue the way they are, we've got 18 months before a real supply crunch comes in and the price goes a lot higher than we are anticipating. It would be very nice to see if that is the case. Monkey Nut says, sup chat. Hello, thank you very much for tuning in. As always, I very much appreciate it. Let's see what else is going on in the markets here today, because that was super bullish of me, and you all know that I like to do something super bullish and then super bearish to kind of balance us all out. One Bitcoin developer here has raised concerns over centralization in Bitcoin mining. So this is a little bit more fear-mongering than we like here on the channel, but we should discuss this. There are 11 mining pools in control right now, according to this Bitcoin developer. So the concerns are, obviously, if somebody has power over 51% of the Bitcoin network, they can basically do what they want with the network. Because we use consensus mechanisms for Bitcoin, it is proof of work. So the concern here is that Bitcoin can become centralized if somebody has too much power. We currently have 11 mining pools in control because we have huge mining pool companies that dominate Bitcoin mining and provide the vast majority of the computing power used to secure the Bitcoin network. So is this something we should be concerned about? Yes. What's happened with Bitcoin is when it was first launched, you could mine Bitcoin on your laptop at home, on your computer. It really wasn't difficult. But over time, because you can earn such big rewards from mining, the computers have got more complex. You need really complex hardware. You need to put a huge amount of power into that hardware, and you need to push a huge amount of energy into them so they can complete these complex cryptographic puzzles to add blocks to the blockchain. So it went from being really simple and people being able to do it at home and the network being super decentralized to really having a huge barrier to entry, and the amount of miners has really decreased over the time. There's a massive barrier to entry there is because you need to buy specific hardware for Bitcoin mining. You need to spend a lot of money on the energy to run that Bitcoin mining rig, and you need to buy fans and the rest of it. So there are some companies that go in and just accumulate a huge amount of this hardware, push the power into it, and try and mine as much Bitcoin as possible. But there's not just people all around the world deciding they should mine it on their computers anymore. So as the technology has advanced and the competition has increased, the amount of decentralization for Bitcoin has essentially decreased, which is not what we want to be seeing, essentially. So we do need to be aware of this. Some notable mining pools often include Ant Pool, Foundry USA, F2 Pool, Poolin, and Binance Pool, amongst others. The exact distribution changes over time due to various factors, such as changes in pool capabilities and the emergence of new mining pools. The crux of the Bitcoin developer, has said, let's take a look at this. Ocean mining was launched to counter some encroaching centralization in Bitcoin mining. Ocean aims to shift the balance of power from a few large pools to individual miners by enabling them to create their blocks. He states that this approach would foster a more democratic and centralized mining process where decisions are not centralized within a few powerful entities. This is definitely something that we need to be aware of, and I do get slightly concerned about this. We want to see as much decentralization as possible. Decentralization is a subjective matter. Something is not decentralized or not. It's kind of like a spectrum. You have centralized, and then you have more and more decentralized, the better. We have huge mining companies right now who do dominate the space, and that decreases the amount of decentralization when it comes to Bitcoin. We have also seen reports that BlackRock hold a huge amount of the shares to the majority of these big mining companies, and we could have big companies that are majority shareholders in numerous companies that mean, look, they could actually like dominate this really, really easily, and that's not what we want to see. That's not what we're here for, and that's not why Bitcoin was created. So the more we can find ways and create infrastructure for people to mine Bitcoin on less expensive hardware and more easily, the better. So I'm all for listening to different ways to help diversify, make Bitcoin more decentralized. Definitely something that we should be aware of, maybe something that we should spend more time researching here. Let's see what else is going on here in the channel though, because we're going back to bullish again. We go bullish, bearish, bullish, bearish. Before we get into this one, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification button so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. We do these live streams every single weekday, and I would very much appreciate it if you tuned in to see what's going on in the world of cryptocurrency. In this article here, we've got energy consumption from cryptocurrency set to increase 30% by 2026. With crypto set to rise by nearly a third, AI is also set for a giant leap in consumption. So let's take a look here. According to a report from the IEA, the two industries are estimated to consume significantly more energy in the coming years. So the report noted power generation is currently the largest source of CO2 emissions in the world, but it is also the sector leading the transition to net zero emissions. So let's take a look at this. The expectation is that demand for AI and crypto will increase. We're all aware of that. We're all very excited about the amount of adoption we could see for cryptocurrency in 2024. And we're looking at the potential electrical requirements that could occur. Now, the increase that could occur. Now, the image above shows that the current electrical demand is roughly 470 terawatt hours. TWH, is that what it is? I should know that. Let's check that. Terawatt hour. Yeah, I was correct. I didn't look as stupid as I thought I did then. In the low case, this will rise to 600 terawatt hours by 2026. The base case or the average will see AI and crypto consume 800 terawatt hours. However, the high case, which the continued adoption of both technologies could cause, may see the demand surpassing 1,000. So you can see the different scenarios there of how the adoption of cryptocurrency and AI continues, what impact it could have on the amount of electricity that it would demand. What we can see here is we've got some charts here to show this is 2022. This is the prediction for 2026. So we need to be aware of this. We did actually see a news article a couple of days ago, which we've linked here in this article, that shows 54.5% here we go. Bitcoin mining hits 54.5% green energy uses. So Bitcoin mining sustainability has hit an all-time high. This is definitely something we wanted to see. Now, I recall back in 2021 when Elon Musk said Tesla was no longer accepting Bitcoin as a form of payment. He said once Bitcoin mining had hit 50% green energy usage, he'd reconsider. That is what I recall. Please confirm in the chat if that is what you recall as well, because if that is the case, and we do see Elon Musk and others beginning to back Bitcoin a little bit more, that would definitely help us endorse and get more people, endorse the asset and get more people involved and more interested in what's going on here. I'm going to take a look at that and confirm if that was correct before the next stream. Let's move on from this though. Let's talk about what else is going on in the markets. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification button so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. We do these live streams every single weekday, so I'd appreciate it if you tune in every single day, educate yourself about the space, and prepare yourself for what could be a fantastic year in crypto in 2024. Let's take a look at what's going on here in this article. So crypto saw 62 million acquired users across 8 chains in 2023. So really positive news here. And I have read through this article and seen that it's not just people buying Bitcoin and leaving it there. We're actually seeing people use DeFi, bridge their assets, getting involved in this space, not just accumulating. Let's take a look at this. One chart in the report indicates that 8 major blockchains experienced 62 million acquired users. The company noted that Ethereum and Polygon saw the most user acquisitions, each with about 15 million acquired users over the year. Flipside noted that user acquisition peaked in May 2023. It added that user acquisition began to rise in March. Let's see what we've got here. Flipside noted that Coinbase's Layer 2 network base saw a strong start with 633 users in the month of its launch. However, according to a report, the chain saw lesser growth towards the end of the year. As expected, there's always that initial optimism of what's to come here. Let's continue through here though. So predicted trends of 2024. Flipside have noted that 2023 saw a decline in NFT related activity and a shift toward decentralized finance activity. It suggests that the next activity cycle will similarly be dominated by various DeFi activities rather than NFT trading. So very interesting there. They suggested that DEX and yield farming will continue to be predominant applications. Furthermore, it predicted the rise of new DeFi applications such as Ethereum restaking protocols there. So definitely something to be keeping an eye out on here. I think a lot of people look at what's going on with DeFi, what's going on with decentralized exchanges, with bridges, staking, and just think we've seen this all before. But I think that we really need to look at what could be adopted within the next year, because there's a huge change happening here when it comes to the adoption of cryptocurrency. And yes, it's not an entirely new sector, but it's still something to be paying attention to and be interested in. Let's see what else is going on here in the news though. So the US plans to sell $130 million of Bitcoin seized in connection with Silk Road. Now, typically this is a bearish signal, but Bitcoin doesn't want to be bearish today. If we take a look at this, Bitcoin is currently trading at 41,347. It is within a crucial range right now. We will be analyzing this again at the end of today's stream. So make sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button, and tune in until the very end so you do not miss that. What we've got here is the US plans to sell $130 million worth of Bitcoin. They filed a notice to sell this Bitcoin from Silk Road FBI agents that stole it from the Silk Road. So what's happened here is, let's take a look at this. The United States hereby gives notice of its intent to dispose of the forfeited property in such manner as the United States Attorney General may direct. They're looking to sell $130 million worth of Bitcoin. Will it affect the Bitcoin price? Probably not. Bitcoin's much bigger than this now. Bitcoin's market cap's up at $809 billion. So the sale of $130 million is nothing to be scared of, and definitely nothing to be sad about. Do you want the US to be holding so much Bitcoin? I don't. Let's see what else is going on here in the markets here. Binance US troubles continue as Alaska and Florida end licenses. So Binance has been targeted when it comes to regulation. There's been a lot of regulatory concerns within the last year or so, and they are now losing some licenses in some states in the US, so definitely not helping with that. But maybe we'll see some changes in 2024. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out. There's been a lot of regulatory concerns when it comes to cryptocurrency in 2023. Now we have these Bitcoin ETFs. I wonder how that will change. But we'll be staying up to date with that here on the channel. So make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification button. Let's see what else is going on here. Ethical hackers took full control over fleet of Bitcoin ATMs. The vulnerability could have been disastrous for the ATM company. So, Lamasu Industries was subject to an ethical hack that led to the group taking full control of the Bitcoin ATM devices. Bitcoin ATM, essentially you can deposit cash and get Bitcoin in return. Due to the nature of an ethical hack, no Bitcoin was stolen, and the company was able to fix the vulnerability that allowed the team of hackers into the system. But Bitcoin could have been stolen. There was a vulnerability there. It's just good that we've had a white hat hacker essentially take advantage of that, find that vulnerability, and exploit that vulnerability over a black hat hacker. Now, they could have done this in a different way. They could have highlighted the bug or the vulnerability to the team. Instead, they've actually made it vulnerable. They've highlighted that to the public. But this this happens, at least it was a white hat hacker, and at least we've identified these problems, so the team can fix those problems as quick as possible. Hopefully this doesn't kind of put people off. There's a lot of problems with hacks at the moment. Hopefully we do see this start to come to an end and we see more focuses on security within the next year or so. But let's see what else is going on in the markets. Let's move on from that and let's talk about NFTs. Now, if you've watched the channel for a while, you know I'm not a super NFT fan. I've minted one NFT in my life. That's the only NFT I've ever held. I don't think it's done very well, to be honest. I haven't checked up on it. I minted it for about $30 in 2022. I have not looked how that has performed. I imagine it's somewhere down at, I don't know where it will be right now. One day I'll open that wallet and it'll be at $100,000 and I'll be incredibly happy. But for now, my expectations are that it's not doing much. What we can see here is Pudgy Penguins edge closer to flipping Bored Ape Yacht Club. So a significant event could occur in the NFT space with Pudgy Penguins gaining momentum. The tide may be shifting in the space with Pudgy Penguins on a come-up rally that could see it flip the Bored Ape Yacht Club floor price. If it occurs, the event would be historical after Bored Ape Yacht Club and its sub-collections dominated the space over the last 2 to 3 years. The two blue-chip NFT collections that come to mind are CryptoPunks and Bored Ape Yacht Club, which hit a nearly $500,000 floor price in 2022. So we are also seeing some competitions in the markets now, and this is a really interesting debate to be had, because when it comes to altcoins in the markets, from cycle to cycle, typically we do see some changes in the top 10 cryptocurrencies. The top 10 cryptocurrencies in terms of market cap change from every 4 years when the cycle changes. It's not the same. We shouldn't expect to see the same top 10 cryptocurrencies from the previous bull market to be in the top 10 in this bull market when at the top. So we are going to see some fluctuations there with altcoins. Are we going to see those same fluctuations with NFTs? Potentially. And my question is, well, what brings people to NFTs? These are just pictures at the end of the day in my eyes. If they don't have a utility, we're glorifying NFTs. They have stupidly high floor prices. I don't see the value in them. In some cases I do when it comes to music, but when it comes to somebody making 100 versions of the same picture, publishing them on OpenSea, is that what it's called? Why has that gone out my head? Let's search that. OpenSea. I'm questioning myself a lot today. It's OpenSea, yeah. Publishing them on OpenSea and seeing what happens with no utility, just it basically being a meme coin with a picture, and they get to $500,000 market cap. You've got to question what's going on. You've got to look at that and go, do you know what, that was a bull market signal. We should have sold them. We should have got out then. NFTs to me don't really have value unless you're going to add utility into them. Are you going to make them a concert ticket? Do they help get the rights when it comes to music and things like that? Yes, there's potential there. But when it comes to these NFTs that are absolutely soaring, a lot of them don't have any value. So my question is, coming back to the main point here before I went off on that ramble, was if the altcoins can't hold their top 10 positions, can these NFTs? Are we going to see the same NFTs that led in the previous NFT bull market be at the top of the next NFT bull market? Because no doubt there probably will be a massive NFT craze at some point. We've just seen it with meme coins about 6 months ago. Everybody knows what a meme coin is by now. Dogecoin's done really well, and then just loads of meme coins just started to pump out of nowhere. So I have no doubt that NFTs that have no value will begin to pump at some point in time during this market cycle. The prices just get stupidly high in cryptocurrency, especially with meme coins, especially with NFTs. So I do expect there to be a big NFT craze at some point. Will Pudgy Penguins be at the top? Will Bored Ape Yacht Club be at the top? Will all of these big names that were here in the previous cycle be at the top of the next cycle? I think that's a really interesting question, and I don't necessarily have the answer here because this is kind of a new concept. What puts them in their top position? It's their name, but are people looking for more exciting things that could come and be the next Bored Ape Yacht Club? Like I don't know the answer to this. It's a very interesting one. But let's take a look at what else is going on in the news. If anybody is a super big NFT fan and knows more about that and wants to give me some reasons as to why the same NFTs will pump again, let me know in the chat. I'll be interested to know more about that. I don't pay attention to NFTs because I don't like the concept, but I'm trying to be more open-minded in 2024 and trying to be a little bit more degen. So maybe it's the sector for me. Good afternoon, Stuart. Thank you very much for tuning in as always, and PG and Monkey Nuts and Go Play Online. Thank you very much for tuning in. Let's see what else is going on in the news today. We've got a couple more to discuss here. So we've got Polygon to launch AgLayer mainnet next month. The protocol is designed as described at making all blockchains feel like one. I will drop the link to this in the chat if this is something that you are interested in. Let's take a look at what else is going on here. So Bitcoin to $20,000 by the end of 2024. This survey thinks so. So a recent survey by Deutsche Bank has hinted that retail investors think that Bitcoin may end the year below $20,000 per coin. Sorry, there was a lot of things going on in my head then. So a recent survey has revealed that participants are expecting a bearish year for Bitcoin, with 33% anticipating the cryptocurrency's value to dip below $20,000 by the end of 2024. Now, we don't know who this survey was, who the participants of this survey were. Are they crypto fans? Do they know the 4-year cycles? I don't think there's much to read into here. I think if the 4-year cycles continue, we would not see $20,000 Bitcoin by the end of the year. If that trend breaks, then maybe, but are we expecting that trend to break? The trend is your friend until the end. I personally think there's a very low probability of this, but anything's possible in crypto, so we've all got to no financial advice. Let's see what else is going on here. Bitcoin halving, 87 days to go. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. Let's analyze the price here and see what's going on. On the 4-hour chart, we're actually in the red right now. Bitcoin's respecting that level of support a lot. So if you've been watching the channel within the last couple of days, you've seen this chart a lot. The levels which are green show previous levels of support and resistance. Right now we are retesting that 41,200 at $300 level. If we use this as a support, if we use this as a level of support, as a level of resistance, if we pull out the pen tool, let's find the pen tool. Here we go. If we use this as a level of resistance, then we should be looking at these levels of support down here. However, if we see the daily candle close above this kind of $42,000 level, we can then try and reuse this as a level of support, and all our fears can go away. And maybe this dip was just down to FTX selling all of their GBTC. Maybe it was just that. Maybe it was just initial fears about what the long-term effects of these ETFs were, but now that FTX has sold all of their GBTC, the outflows are starting to come to an end. Maybe that was the end of the pullback. Who knows? At this point here, we've been down for a maximum of 22% for Bitcoin in this pullback. As I keep saying on these streams, Bitcoin pullbacks in a bull market are typically between 20 and 30%. So if that's the end of the pullback, that fits in perfectly with Bitcoin's typical price action. But if it comes down to that $34,000 level, that also fits in perfectly with Bitcoin price action. And that is why I've been preparing myself for both scenarios. I've been accumulating a little bit at these levels down here at $39,000. With the expectation, with the kind of knowledge that if Bitcoin goes up higher, I've bought the dip, but if it goes down, I can buy some more. Because right now, we still don't know. But just because Bitcoin's gone up today doesn't mean, pullback's over, we can all relax. We still have a crucial level which Bitcoin needs to either be rejected by or it needs to reclaim. So we need to be very much aware of that. Now, we also know that today is Friday, so we may see some sideways action over the next couple of days. If we close within this price range here, which is this huge zone of support and resistance, between the $42,000 level and the $40,800 level, maybe we will see some pretty neutral candles over the weekend and we won't get a clear indication of which way we are going until Monday. So do be prepared for that. We are waiting to see the candle closes, which is super important. We're not paying attention to the wicks here. I personally don't anyway. What we want to see is a daily candle close significantly above or below this support for indication of which way we are going to go here. Also, because it is Friday, we need to be aware that the Bitcoin CME gap is going to arrive this weekend too. So the Bitcoin CME is the Chicago, let's pull it up first of all. So to find the CME chart on TradingView, do BTC 1 exclamation mark if you want to get access to this yourself. If you go to the daily chart, this is from the CME, so the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. They are the world's largest derivatives exchange and they are operational every Monday to Friday. But when they close on a Friday, their Bitcoin chart just stops, and when they open on a Monday, it just picks up from wherever Bitcoin's price is. Now this creates gaps in the chart for Bitcoin on the CME. So you can see here that we have a gap from between the 17th of August last year to the 18th of August last year, because this is the price at which Bitcoin was on the Friday when they closed, and this is the price of Bitcoin on the Monday when they opened. So it creates this gap in the chart. Now, why is this important? Why do we care? Well, these gaps act like magnets for the Bitcoin price until they are filled. Now, to fill a Bitcoin CME gap, we want to see price action within that price range. So you can see, for example, we've got a CME gap here, which was created in December last year, and we have actually filled that throughout this dip. So this was acting like a magnet for the Bitcoin price at $39,700, but we've now filled that gap. We've seen price action within that range. That gap is now filled, and it is no longer acting like a magnet. So we need to be aware of this, because tonight we are going to see the CME gap open, and then on Monday morning when the markets open, we are going to see if there is a CME gap for this weekend. And if we look at probability, CME gaps are typically closed within the week after they are created. If not, then we have a long-standing CME gap that we need to be more aware of in the long term. So we will be talking about that on Monday morning, as we always do. So if you are new here, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification button so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. We do these live streams every single weekday, and we would very much like you to tune in every day and educate yourself on crypto before the real big excitement comes in 2024. But that's all we have time for today. So thank you very much for tuning in. As always, I hope you have enjoyed. I will be back here at normal time again tomorrow. We were just late today because Spud did an interview this morning, so make sure to check that out as well. But that's all from me today. Thank you very much, and I will see you all back